Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, of course. In full transparency, I had my husband block his calendar and it's blocked, but his call is going long. So I'm telling my 4-year-old, like, you're babysitting right now. Like, you are babysitting. So,
Don't worry about it. It's not that serious. I have a dog who may explode at any moment.
oh,
So,
good. So,
what are you going to do? We try,
we
but
will.
sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. This I can actually edit, so it's not a big
Perfect.
deal. I
Perfect.
stopped doing so many lives because just crazy stuff would happen in the background. So,
No, I would always have the worst issue connecting with the other person. I'm on there and I'm like, oh, okay, let me try again. And then so I
I had
just
that too.
I'm
I
all
had
together.
that happen so many times that one time I was trying to read the person's lips and because I couldn't, we were just tripping over each other. It was just a disaster. So I stopped doing that and then I started doing them live, just not on Instagram. But then my dog, like I said, would explode. And
Yeah.
so anyway, I've been through all of it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
You get it.
What really what I just so I'll just tell you a little bit about what I do.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a real estate broker and an attorney, and about almost 10 years ago, I put my house up on Airbnb. So I have two daughters, and when we have guests, we travel. So we've
Oh yeah.
been all over the place, traveling around.
I love
And so a few years ago, I started putting together a community of women that I now teach how to host their homes. So unlike a lot of people who are teaching, arbitrage and
right.
how to scale and how to do, I'm teaching women how to use spaces they already own.
I love
So
it.
one of the biggest issues that they have is that, they don't know what to do with their stuff.
Right.
So I get it because I had to get rid of a lot of stuff. I had to, store stuff, I had to pack stuff, whatever. And
Mhm.
I try to teach them to sort of separate themselves emotionally from their stuff
Right.
and try to think about how they're going to have an experience. And the stuff, don't let your stuff hold you back so that you're not having, these experiences because you don't know, where to put the books that you haven't read since,
Right.
you're in high school.
College. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So when I found you, I was like, oh, good, somebody else who can talk about decluttering. That's not just me saying it over and over again. So I'm excited to hear any tips you might have or
Yeah, of
any
course.
strategy or how you get started or just even like I have a lot of women who don't know how much stuff to get rid of,
Right. Mhm.
so that's always a concern. They're like, do I have to clean out everything?
Right.
And so that's the kind of stuff. And like I said, I'm real informal and casual with this. So it's really
Yeah.
just kind of a conversation between you and me.
I love it.
And we
Yeah.
go for, whatever, 20 minutes, half an hour, however
Perfect.
long you want. And then
Yeah.
I would love for you to, I'll say, how can people get in touch with you? How can they reach you? So if you have any products that you sell, any of your services, or if you do coaching or anything, feel free to throw that in there and,
Thank
get
you.
a good solid plug. And um, that's kind of what I do.
I love it. Thank you.
Okay.
And this is pretty great because honestly, there's not other people in our niche. There's no one else. There's people that
Oh,
Airbnb full time. There's, arbitrage, like you already mentioned, which isn't my favorite. But there's no one, and there's
oh,
minimal accounts about decluttering, but there's really no one that blends the two. So when you reached out,
I
I was
know, and it's funny because I've been trying to find people, and so I would love to, keep in touch with you and do
yeah.
maybe some combined stuff because so I'm in this book. Do you know this book? I did this book. So there
No,
are
I don't.
40 hosts, hospitable hosts.
Okay. Yeah.
So 40 hosts from around the world, we got together, we each did a chapter about what
Oh,
we do.
cool.
I'm the only one in there talking about hosting my own home, but there's
Oh,
this big community now. They're doing a whole second book with another 40 people, but nobody's doing home hosts. So I
right.
have, affectionately labeled us homies, and I'm looking for more homies to talk to, but like you said, I can't find anybody. And I
Yeah.
know I don't have a statistic, I have to find one. I know that since, Airbnb started off with people hosting in their
Right.
homes. So I know
Right.
there are a lot of us out there who do this, but it just seems like nobody's talking to us.
Yeah.
And the bad part is, so now we're competing with, boutique hotels and,
Right.
chain hotels, but it's my house where I live with my exploding dog. And so,
Yeah.
I still have to compete, in
Right.
terms of
Absolutely.
attention and quality of service and all that kind of stuff. So my whole thing is trying to teach women um, how to be hospitable and how to maximize, their homes without going out and investing in a whole new property to do it.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
okay. All right.
Perfect. I
So
love it.
cool. I am just going to just start. I'm going to edit all this part out, so don't worry about that part, and I'll just start from here. Okay. So
Perfect.
thank you everybody for joining me. I have the pleasure. I'm so excited to talk to Amber Paul. Amber is on Instagram as Watch Me Airbnb, and she is an expert among all the other things that she's an expert at. She's an expert at decluttering, and I'm really excited to talk to her because we all need some help with this. I know we do. And a lot of people are intimidated by it. They don't know where to start. They don't know how much to do. They don't know, I've talked to people about this and they're like, do I just take everything out and put it all in the middle of the floor? Or do I just kind of, I don't know, bulldoze my house and start over? Or how do I do? Do I go room to room or drawer to
Right.
drawer? So Amber's here to tell us everything that she knows to be true about decluttering your home, particularly if you plan to host guests in that space. So, yay, Amber, thanks for
Hey,
joining.
thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. We have
Good.
definitely decluttered in multiple ways. We've moved a fair amount.
Okay,
So it's always nice to have a fresh start every time you move. So hopefully I can speak to all of these different ways.
fantastic.
Yes. So how we started our decluttering journey, if you will. As I mentioned, we had already decluttered multiple times. And I want to bring that up because we live in a society that values things. And oftentimes, no matter how careful we are at Target or wherever we might be, there are things that are going to enter our homes, whether
Yes.
gifts or kids go to birthday parties and bring home like 10 more trinkets than they
Yes.
started with,
Yes.
So there is stuff coming into our home at all times. But I do a decent declutter before Airbnb in my house, probably twice a year.
Oh, okay, I
Um,
love it.
yeah. And then once you've done a solid declutter, it's really easy to just go organize and do that. So anyways, so getting back to things, how we decided um to Airbnb our home and the decluttering that took place beforehand is, to be totally honest with you, I decided to post our house on Airbnb first.
Okay.
I know. It's a
I like
timeline, right? And it lights a fire under you, but this is what I did. I went from room to room to take my pictures. And obviously, if you really are doing this as a huge source of income, you should have professional pictures. But my first time, I wanted to see if this would work. And I thought I can take pictures
Me
and I
too.
can brighten it up.
Me too.
So,
I did that.
yeah, exactly. So I went into, say, the kids' bathroom and I cleared any of the crap off of the counter and I put it right behind me in the door frame. And I took a picture. And
Okay.
then I
Okay.
put the crap back. And then I walked to the next room and I took a picture, or I removed the stuff, put it behind me in the door frame, went back, took the picture, and then put the stuff back. So what I'm saying is sometimes it just takes a first step. You have to commit, right?
Yes.
And there's not much more commitment that can take place besides saying, "Oh, someone
To
paid
put
me
yourself
money
out there
to
and
live
know
in my."
that people could come at any moment. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's a lot of pressure. I love that.
absolutely. And then also, I wanted to make sure before I invested in Airbnb in my home that it was going to book out. I didn't want to go buy all of the, pillowcase protectors and
Right.
yada 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 beforehand. So I did want to make sure it booked. But I gave
Right.
myself time. I'm not crazy. I didn't put it up for the weekend. I was like 2 months out. But from there, I did go through. I don't know if I necessarily did it room by room, but I did it um, maybe item by item. So I did do
Okay.
the method where I put all of the clothes on the bed at one time, and I
Okay.
went through all of the clothes, and then I would do that with my kids' clothes and all that. Or I would gather every single book in the house and I would put it in one spot and I would go through them all at one time. Because sometimes you don't realize how much stuff you have because it's
Right.
sprinkled in all of these places until it is in one spot.
Okay.
So I have, and I've done some decluttering challenges on my Watch Me Airbnb account where I broke it down and I give people like a little bite size, piece of something to declutter every day. And that really helped to spread it out a
Oh,
bit.
goodness. I can't wait to do some of that with you. That sounds fun. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Let me just interrupt real quick. When you get rid of stuff, as you're sorting through the books or the clothes or whatever, what are you doing with it? Where are you giving it away? Are you throwing it away? Are you selling it? Where's it going?
I
Are
love
you
that.
packing it up and putting it on the garage?
Yeah. So when I'm actually getting rid of things in general, not necessarily preparing to Airbnb, but when I'm getting rid of things, I kind of do a mixture. If it's something that I think can make me enough money to make it worth the hassle of listing it on Facebook Marketplace and having two people no show me, that sort of thing, then I'll list it. So
Okay.
if I'm going to make probably more than 20 bucks. Um, if I am donating it, I'm wanting it out of my house. Honestly, if it's something that's sentimental, or sometimes if it's something that just feels like I spent money on this, I hate to just drop it off at the local consignment shop, then I typically reach out to a friend and say, hey, I have these kids' clothes. They're sentimental, right? Like, I don't just want to drop them off for someone else to, a stranger to buy them. So I was like, do you need any 2T clothes? And then I'll just drop them off in bulk. But as for um, random cups that just magically show up and don't match my cup set, then yeah, I'm just gonna keep all those in a box. And I just always have a box in my garage of things I just add to. When it's full, I get them out. I drop
Nice.
them at the Goodwill.
Yeah, I don't know. I think those cups multiply or something because there's always like some random advertised something on a mug, and I take all that stuff out before I host, but I'm never quite sure what I'm supposed to do with it. So
Right.
some of it just has to go.
Yeah.
And then I run it past my kids. Okay, do you want this one from Disneyland or whatever, from the
Right.
gas station or wherever these things come from? But I like to offer guests a matched set of dishware that
Mhm.
doesn't look like a collection of, stuff we got from the gas station. So
Right.
yes.
Absolutely. And I will say that Airbnb and upfront is kind of an investment. Unless you live in this beautiful, magnificent, perfect home with everything matching. I did throw away some of my kid dishes and buy a replacement set that wasn't all chewed up, but I did also make that money back in a couple of nights. So it's not as big of a deal. So it's
Yes,
kind of a free upgrade, if you will. It's
it
a little bit of work
is.
up front, but you are getting to get rid of that visual clutter of all of the mixed matched items and swap it out with something that will benefit you.
Yes,
You
I
those
tell people
dishes.
that.
So
I tell my house is in better shape now than it was before. If I decide I'm going to sell it, I'm that much closer to being able to sell it because everything matches and everything's, fixed and everything's
yeah,
painted. And so it's in good shape. And someone else has paid for all of it. So,
right, exactly. And they're tax write-offs
right, right,
because it's
right,
your business.
right. Right. Okay. So do you recommend someone start like room to room, or how would you?
Yeah, I would do a blend, room to room and big items. So I would probably go through all clothes in the whole entire house at once,
Hmm,
all books in the whole entire house at once, all paper clutter in the whole entire house at once. And then after you've tackled maybe those three things, then I would go room to room.
okay.
I would pull everything out of the cabinets. I mean, Airbnb in your home is a little bit unique than having an investment property because I don't know about you, but okay, maybe this says something about me, but my toaster gets little crumbs in the bottom of it, and I don't keep it on the counter. I put it down below, and so every time I move that back and forth, those crumbs are falling in the bottom of my shelf. So there are things that you have to pay attention to a couple weeks before. Meaning, did you really clean your waffle maker, or did you clean your waffle maker? Like
You know
people are
what?
going to use this.
I find myself cleaning and I didn't do this a lot before, I have to say, the utensil divider that always
Yeah,
seems to get some crumbs in it. I clean that a lot now. I'm like,
right.
okay.
Yeah,
But when I look at my drawer, I'm like, utensil divider looks great,
I know. Yeah, and you can benefit from it when you get home. You're like, "Oh, I'm coming home to a clean house," which is
Right.
really nice. So, yeah,
That
I
is-
would say that I take the big things that occur in most rooms in my house, and I do those all together. And then from there, I can really settle into a room and pick it apart.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, okay. So do you then have a bunch of like empty boxes that you tape up and you get ready and you're like, okay, this is it. I'm shipping everything out today. Is that how you do it?
We don't. That's a good question. So this is how I get ready day of, or probably day before. Um, I well, and I'll say sometimes it's different. If I am Airbnb my house for a 2 to 3 night stay, I I would say more times than not, people are not going to take their clothes out of their suitcase. And so
Yes.
they might not need my dresser drawers. With that said, I don't want people to have access to underwear and other things. So there are some things that I will pack away no matter what. And there are other things that I've kind of gone a little bit more casual. And so I
Okay.
think one thing is to set expectations. So on my Airbnb listing, I say explicitly, this is our personal home.
Hmm.
You are welcome to play with toys, to use our appliances. I explicitly state that so they know what they're getting into. If they
Great.
want something that has nothing at all in it, they're more than welcome to not choose me. But I would hope that if you're signing up for this, that you'll give me a review based
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
getting.
Yeah.
Um, so I explicitly state that. Now, with that said, we go to Utah to see family for a month every July. And
Mhm.
so that means that either I'm getting a full month long rental and people are going to unpack their clothes during that time, or there's going to be 4 or 5 different groups
Oh,
in and
yes.
out, in and out,
Yes.
in and out. And since I don't have time to come back, or I don't have financial means probably to come back in between each guest, to see like how things went, I might err a little bit more cautiously. So, anyways,
Mhm.
I bring that up in terms of clothes. So for my kids, if it's just a 2 night like special event in town, I was able to get a good rate. I will just take the clothes from their top drawer and I'll squish them down into the second drawer. Like if
Okay.
people need space, they can make it happen. Now, with that said, I'm not a hoarder.
Mhm.
My kids' clothes are organized. There's not a ton of them. They're not exploding out of the drawers. So I can do that and still make it look decent, good. And then
Yeah.
I'll just push the clothes over in my daughter's closet. So there's a whole rod and then hangers.
Nice. Nice.
For my husband's clothes, I will empty out our drawers. So what I
Okay.
do is I just take an empty hamper or a big box. And actually, what I do is I don't necessarily share all of our bedding. I have like special Airbnb bedding in boxes. And
Mhm.
so I will pull those out and I'll pull out the bedding and then I'll just take everything from my drawers and just, set it in the box and then I'll put that away. Um, so how we do it is our primary bedroom closet is locked. We have put a lock on there. And so no one has access to our primary bedroom closet. And then also upstairs, my son's bedroom has the biggest closet for whatever reason. That was not good planning, but here we are. Anyways, and so I have put a lock on that closet as well. So if there are random things, dirty laundry, you don't have time to do laundry the day before you're getting your house ready.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
stuff like that, our bedding that we're stripping off and then we're going to put Airbnb bedding on. And then when we come home, we're going to put that on again. So I'll just throw that in the closet. Or if there's just anything special, like if my kids have special drawings hanging on their wall and we can't part with them, then I'll say, okay, anything important you can go put in this closet for the next few days. And
Yes.
so that's
That's
how
a,
we manage it.
that's a big question for people. They want to know, where do they put their stuff? And so I tell my story is, initially, just like you, when I first kind of started, I was like, I don't know about this. So I didn't empty everything out and I just kind of moved it over, or I put it, I boxed several things in the garage and just kind of stacked up the boxes. Since then, we've moved more things out because we're in and out more often now.
Yeah.
But I would not suggest emptying out your entire house before you've tested the market because you could it might not be as active as you would have thought, and then you've got to move everything back in. So that's kind of
Right.
a drag. I love the locked closets. People ask about that all the time.
Mhm.
And have you ever had, people are always concerned that guests are going to, I don't know, I feel like they feel like people are going to kind of rifle through their things. And I tell students that, they're not coming to town to rifle through your kids' clothes drawers,
Right.
Do you
Yeah.
find that people are doing that?
No, and especially, and this is where I do want to distinguish that I get the house a different type of ready for a 30-day rental, like I mentioned when we leave in July. When people are coming, they're usually renting our house out for like 4 days. And if you're in
Mhm.
Austin, Texas, you're not sitting in our house. You're
Right,
getting tacos and then you're getting barbecue and you're exploring, right?
right.
So they're not just sitting at home watching TV and
Looking through your things.
yeah, looking through your things. By all means, you should take precautions and you should lock things up and you don't want things to be junky. And we empty out our nightstands, to be honest with you. We just feel like if it's
Mhm.
something that kind of looks cluttery and junky, then we don't want it to be there. But um, yeah, we have not had any issues at all with people going through our stuff. We've magically found new things have appeared a lot. We found like random toys. We're like, oh, this wasn't ours. And our kids are like, where did this come from? Like, I don't know.
But, speaking of that, how do your kids feel about you hosting? Because I don't talk to a lot of people who have kids. I do, and I know how I need to get them on board, and everybody pitches in. But how do your kids feel about it?
Yeah, so a little bit of background information. I now have a 6, a barely 5-year-old, and a barely 2-year-old. So when we started doing this, they were like 6 months, 3 and 4 probably.
Oh my.
So they didn't have a choice, first of all. They
Okay.
didn't. Um, and now it's just kind of it's kind of funny. My son, when he if he ever comes home and the house smells funny or something, he'll be like, did people sleep in my bed while I was gone? And we're like, no, you just need to like take out the garbage or something. I don't know. Um, so he's just funny about it.
That's
So
good. That's good.
yeah. So my kids, now that they are getting older and are starting to get a little bit more particular about mostly like
Things.
colored pictures that they would prefer to be hung on a wall, probably is the thing.
Okay.
Um, they just they help and they can pack things away and they don't care. And if we explain to them that we want to go on these trips and have these experiences and their trips are expensive, and this helps us go see grandma and grandpa or do whatever, then they've never
They get
complained.
it. They get
They
it.
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to explain to people that if you present it in the way that it is, this allows us to do, X or whatever.
Yeah.
And my kids, it's I won't tell anybody that it's not disruptive because it is,
Oh,
there
it
is
is.
a level of, disruption. There just is because you got to
Yeah.
put all your stuff away or whatever.
Yeah.
But when we, at least as a family, weigh the stuff that we get to do,
Right.
and have someone else pay for, there's just really no comparison. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've also created just a culture within our home of getting rid of things. And I don't mean like brand new things, but when the kids come home from school, I mean, some of that paper just goes straight into the trash. We look at it, we talk about it, and then it magically disappears. Or, whatever it is, we just and we're intentional about gifts we give our children. I try to give them more art type projects or things that's kind of a one and done
Okay.
situation versus like these giant extravagant toys. So I think that's helpful. And then for Christmas, when other people are going to be giving them legitimate gifts, we often give them experiences just so that there's less coming into our house
Yes.
or more consumable items. So,
We're doing the same thing. In fact, I've tried to get my mom, I'm like, please don't give us any more stuff. Yeah, just we can take a gift card or we can, send us somewhere, we'll send us ice skating as a family. We'll do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's something we'll remember, and I won't have to store in the garage because it'll be over and done. And I try to explain to people, it feels so good, for me at least, to have less stuff.
it
And
does.
it's not like I'm living, just sitting in my house on a cardboard box or something. I
Right.
mean, we have things, but we don't have, I don't have things that I haven't seen in years. I
Yeah,
don't have, boxes of stuff and I don't know what it is.
right.
I don't want that stuff anymore. And it feels good not to have it because I know I can pick up and go without, worrying about things,
Yeah,
that I'm not even sure what they are anymore because I haven't seen them in so long. So
yeah.
it's a good feeling. And And I think it's really key to someone who wants to host guests in their home. You have to provide a space that feels like someplace they can make their own for the time that they're there.
Right. And make experiences of their own without having to clean up your stuff. You know, that's
Right.
not a vacation if they're having to
Yeah,
sort through all of these things in order to get to the plate they want. Or
right. Or even just, if I think sometimes it can make them feel uncomfortable to have all your stuff around, because then they feel like they're kind of imposing on you
yeah.
in a way.
Hmm.
And so I tell people the more you can clear away or put away or discard, I think the guests would appreciate that,
Yeah.
and plus your photos look so much better without a whole bunch of little stuff all over the place.
Right. Absolutely. And I will say that the first time it's difficult. It's difficult shuffling through things and realizing where your I don't even want to say valuables. I feel like in this day and age, we're starting to have less valuables. I mean, the most valuable thing in our house is probably our TV.
Yeah, I
And
don't have a lot of valuables
but we
either.
have important documents, right? And so it's just figuring out like where are your mortgage papers
Yeah, yeah.
and stuff like that. So the first time it's a little bit difficult, but then you just get the hang of it and you realize, okay, well, in the office, I have this one box that needs to be moved into the primary bedroom closet and it'll be locked and it's fine. Or you can just take the next step of, I'm going to start keeping this box of important papers in the bedroom closet at all times. And so that's kind of where we've moved to. We used
Okay.
to have important documents and we've gone through them now. So there's significantly less. I mean, our file box is literally, it fits in a fire box is what they're called.
Okay. Okay.
But we just keep it in our closet now and there's no back and forth. And of course we get the day-to-day clutter that comes in and
Junk
we just make
mail and
sure
all
that we
the
go
stuff.
through it. Exactly. We just go through it a little bit more quickly so that when the time comes to Airbnb, it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah, and it can be a big deal otherwise. I mean, if you've got 3 days and people are coming and you have to pull a whole house together, and especially if you have a family, that's a lot of work. I've done that before, and at the end, I'm literally like sneaking out the back door when they're at the front door, and I've had, a garbage bag and dirty laundry, and I put it all in
Yeah,
the car and we head out. I've done that before.
absolutely.
In the beginning. We don't do it that way so much anymore now, but
Yeah.
I remember those
Oh yeah.
days.
Yeah. Yes. I'm
So
with you.
how long have you been Airbnb your home?
It's been about 18 months and we're a
Okay.
little bit unique. It sounds like, and I could be wrong, but it sounds like you have yours listed on Airbnb and then you leave when it
Mhm,
books. And we're a
mhm.
little bit opposite. We're like, we're going on a trip, so we're going to post it while we're gone and only when
Okay,
we're gone.
okay,
So I don't have it listed at all times, but
okay.
gosh, it feels like every person in my extended family and my husband's extended family got married last year. So we were gone
Oh,
a
wow.
fair amount. And then there was a really big event in Austin. It's Formula One race cars.
Oh,
They
oh,
started
yeah,
coming
they're coming
every
here this year. They're
Oh
coming to
yeah.
Chicago in July, yeah.
Yeah. So we put it up. You have to determine what is your threshold for making it worth it. What is that dollar amount? So if there's a big event coming and we think, okay, well, I guess we could just go to a neighboring town
Right.
and have a
Go to a
2 day
hotel. We just go to a
staycation.
hotel. That's less expensive than what we'll
Right.
make on a nightly basis, yeah.
Right. So there was a time with Formula One, so my house typically does not make super extravagant numbers, but we made $600 a night. And we were like, whoa, this paid for us to go to New York and Boston and DC. And we travel, hack a little bit for hotel points and flights. So we were
Fantastic.
gone for 10 days and made
Were they
money.
in town that long?
No, but we just booked it out for a weekend.
Okay. Oh,
And they got
wow.
like really,
That's great.
yeah.
That's great.
So, I mean,
Well,
pros and cons. If I was going to make, I mean, it depends on you and the age of your kids, I would say, if you have kids or how you live. And if it's worth it for you to make a couple $100, then by all means do it. For me, I feel like I have to make a little bit more than that to make it worth
yeah,
for my
yeah.
family, especially, I've got kids in school. So it's not just, I can't just go
Yes,
whenever.
yes, yes. And
We don't live by family. I can't just go stay the grandparents' house, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes. See, we're able to do that a little bit, but at the same time, it's not. I had someone who contacted me last week and they wanted to have just a 1 day rental. And I was like, first of all, I don't do 1 day rentals,
right.
even though it
No
was a
way.
baby shower. But I'm like, it's not worth it for me to get all of this together, to get all of us out. And it's just not worth it. I won't do it for that amount. But that's very subjective because if it were just me, and I
Yeah.
didn't do all this, maybe I would.
Yeah. And
But
if you don't have kids around, if those extra bedrooms are going to stay how they are meant to be,
right,
from one
right.
booking to the next, all you gotta do is mop some floors and vacuum downstairs and you're
Head
good.
on out the
And
door.
that's just
Yeah.
not the life that I lived.
Me either. Me either. It's a lot of work to get it together. And so, yeah, I want to pay off at the end. That
Yeah.
makes it worth my while. Even though I will have cleaning people come in and help, it's still, I gotta do there's a lot of organizing that
Yeah,
goes
there is.
into it. So tell us how else you help hosts who are hosting guests.
Great question. Um, so I am in the process of creating an ebook. It'll probably be about $10, so not bad, but it'll go through, it'll have some checklists of things that I make sure that are completed in every single room. I hope to have that done in the next week or two if I
Nice.
can slow down life a little bit and focus. So yes, I have an ebook. I also do something called Marco Polo mentoring, which
Hmm.
is a little unique, but basically it's $50 for the entire month. And I don't know if you've heard of Marco Polo, the app. Um,
Um,
it's
I don't know.
awesome. Basically, it's just I send you a message of myself talking, and then you send me a message back, and we can just
Oh,
talk back and forth
okay.
whenever the time is best. And so that I love that because you might be organizing your kitchen. You can say, what else should I do? And then I can say, oh, well, I would recommend getting rid of
Ah,
this and
cool.
this and this. And so it's just very casual on your own time. You send me a message, I send you a message back, back and forth for
Marco Polo. Yes.
Marco
Okay,
Polo.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And so you do that with helping people declutter and organize?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Minimizing, setting up Airbnb. I mean, there's lots of facets of this. There's setting up a listing and there's things to look for in terms of like, how do I stand out comparatively to others? And so it's not, unfortunately, just decluttering. There's a lot there. There's a lot to talk about. And since it is so abnormal for someone like you and I to do this, it's nice to just talk to someone that's
Look at
done.
somebody else. Yeah. I also say that it can be kind of lonely because, it's just kind of you in your house
Yeah,
unless you are a part of a community or unless you reach out and connect with someone like you. Because, I'm in there making up beds and I'm like, okay, well, it's been 8 hours, me making up beds by myself with no contact with the outside.
right.
So it's nice to have someone to reach out to ask, what kind of sheets do you get? Or,
Yeah. Yeah.
should I buy new towels or are these okay? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
what's the,
And I
the
do
best?
talk on it a fair amount on my account, Watch Me Airbnb on Instagram. But I also talk about other things on there because I talk about minimizing in general, just to be able to provide experiences for families at low cost. So, yeah, so you can
Okay.
find me there and definitely reach out and send any messages. I love talking about it because, like you said, there are so few of us, it seems, that do this. So it is nice to just
Yeah, no, we've
someone
we've
that can
got to
relate.
connect with one another because I know we're out there. We're just all separately in our houses making beds and things.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate your time today. This has been really
Yeah, of
fun,
course.
and
No, thank
want
you.
to encourage everybody who sees this to follow Amber at Watch Me Airbnb
Thank you.
and look for her ebook. We're excited about that. So maybe you'll come back and tell us more about that when you get it up and out there.
Yeah,
And in the meantime, I just want to thank you for your time today. This has
of
been
course.
cool. And I hope we can talk again about Airbnb being guests in our home.
Oh, we will.
Okay, take
Thank you so
care.
much for having me. It's been so fun
Okay.
to talk to
Nice
you.
to meet you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.